Second amendment, move John Faulkner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move in relation to Resolution 147 in the Rules Committee report, which relates to pre-selection of New South Wales Legislative Council and Senate candidates, that recommendation be changed from reject to support. Mr. President and delegates, in this place, at this time, we are all charged with the heavy responsibility and solemn duty to determine the course of our party here in New South Wales. On too many occasions in the past, we have collectively failed that duty and responsibility, not only but most acutely in the pre-selection of candidates for upper houses. We should aspire to the best possible candidates selected through the best possible process. Instead, we have at times produced the worst possible candidates through a fundamentally flawed system, and we must change that system. We'll hear all the usual arguments about what any change may mean. You'll hear it's anti-union, even though it'll give literally thousands more trade unionists a vote in the pre-selection. Even though the current system is controlled by a small number of trade union secretaries, they make the decisions, not the union members and not the union delegates to this conference. And we'll hear that it won't give a voice to country members, it'll favour metropolitan candidates. Well, it will give a voice to country members, every single country member in the Australian Labor Party. And, of course, it makes they'll have a hell of a lot more of a say in the pre-selection process than in the current farcical system we have, where, as we've seen this weekend, where the real ballots were held weeks ago, conducted by the factions, for the factions, between candidates from the factions. The result, a ticket just presented to this conference as a fait accompli. The truth is, delegates, those with power will never give it up. And I note the first part of the rules change that I circulated to party units to write a commitment to integrity into the rules has been accepted. That's good. But it won't change the way the party works. The mechanisms that allowed the shonks to prosper, that'll make no difference, those words, if those mechanisms stay in place. And look what the current system's delivered. We've got to be honest with ourselves here today, delegates. Eddie Obeid, 4 separate ICAC investigations made corruption findings against him, selected 3 times by this conference. Ian McDonald, 3 separate ICAC investigations, corruption findings against him, selected 3 times by this conference. Tony Kelly, also found to have engaged in corrupt conduct, selected by this conference 3 times. And the General Secretary of the party writes that I may not have been pre-selected under the model I propose. Well, that might be true, who knows? But delegates, what we do know is that Obeid, McDonald and Kelly were pre-selected under the current system over and over again, and it is our responsibility to change that system that inflicted them not only on our party but on the people of New South Wales. And I won't even mention the $348,366.87 of party members' money that paid for the legal bills of Craig Thompson. We'll never see a cent of that back. Or Michael Williamson, convicted and imprisoned for fraud, who sat right up there on the stage year after year as our senior vice president. Now, conference must understand that we bear responsibility not for the actions of those corrupt individuals, but for elevating them to such high office. Those individuals were either chosen by this body or supported by this body, but they sure as hell were allowed to thrive by this body. And it's time to take the steps to make sure it never, never happens again. And those steps, delegates, include changing the way power is distributed in our party, changing the rules to include statements about integrity and ethical behaviour, while leaving power within the New South Wales branch concentrated in the hands of just a few factional leaders, left and right, is nothing but a sham. It's political hypocrisy of the worst kind. All talk, no action. Just look at the Legislative Council pre-selection for this conference. It's a rubber stamp. Everyone knows it. And I say to you today, delegates, end the farce. Why is it, delegates, that our great party, for so long the champion of free and fair elections in this party, is so allergic to free and fair elections within the Labor Party? Why is it, as Albo said earlier, a good idea for members to have a vote in the election of the party leader, but not on who represents us as Upper House parliamentarians? Now, delegates, I know that this amendment's going to be slaughtered here on the floor of the conference. I know that. But I want to say to you that because, let's be honest, those who run the show will never give up their power. But I personally have much, much more faith in the membership of our party to pre-select upper house candidates than I do in the factional machines. I'll sum up. I'll conclude my contribution, Mr. President and delegates, by saying this. I believe that each and every delegate here today should seize this opportunity, take the responsibility to vote for this amendment to make sure that the mistakes of the past are not the way of the future for the Labor Party. This is too important, delegates, for all of you to vote in accordance with your instructions. And I ask every delegate here in the Sydney Town Hall today to accept and fulfil the duty which in this place, at this time, is yours and yours alone. Delegates, this party must change. Our party and the people of New South Wales deserve nothing less.
Seconded, Luke Foley.